Okay, so my presentation is over The End of Mr. Y, which is a book written by Scarlett Thomas. It's a book that has a lot of like physical or like physics kind of thing and a lot of like thinking, and it's one of those like books that really like confuses your brain when you read it. It's about a girl who's finishing up college. She's working on like her final project. She really likes this author, and this author, he lived a long time ago. He wrote a book, and he wrote a lot of books, but this book was really important. It was called The End of Mr. Y. And she and her professor are really intrigued by this book because when he wrote it, him, all the editors, and like the very few editions that were sold, probably only like 2 or 3 books were ever sold out into the world, everyone who read them disappeared. And nobody ever found them again. So her and her professor are like doing research on this book, and one day her professor disappears, and then later she goes and looks in a bookstore and she finds the book. So of course what she does, she picks up the book and she goes home and she reads it. And in the book she finds a recipe for this concoction she can make. And when she makes this concoction, she drinks it and she enters this mind world called the troposphere. In the troposphere she can read other people's minds. It's like saying, if I were to go into the troposphere, I could read Emily Sabetti's mind. I could know what she was thinking and everything she was feeling without her knowing I was there. So, yeah, so she's going through that, and while she's in the troposphere, she accidentally enters the minds of a lot of her friends and finds out things about them that they never told her, she never knew. And so then later, obviously the troposphere is something that's like highly confidential, and nobody really wants anyone to know about this. So people start coming after her, so she travels through the troposphere and finds her professor who also found this book, and they have to hide together. And then in the end, her professor says, I need you to go back in time through the troposphere and kill the writer of this book, so this was never created. So that's what she does, and she kills the writer, and she ends up in the troposphere, which is where she wants to be because her life is kind of sad, but she ends up in the troposphere and she's happy there. And so my main theme that I pulled out of the book is the importance of thought. Within the book, the entire book is about thinking and where thinking can get you. She really entered a whole new world when she was like thinking in her brain. So I think Scarlett Thomas is really trying to show us that through thinking we can create new things, we can see things in a totally different way, and it's also important to communicate with people so we can learn about them, learn what they think. And so I think that's really important in the book. And this is a quote by Scarlett Thomas that says, I think about stories and their logic and wonder if there can be any such thing as simply there is a book. And so this furthers the thing about thinking is so important, because I think when you read a book, now the book is in your mind and you can interpret the book in different ways, and I can interpret the book differently from somebody else, and everybody has different thoughts, and we explore further because of things we read in the book. And so books are really good for stimulating your thinking, and in the same way that stimulating your thinking can get you to new places. I don't know if I would include this in the curriculum. It seems it's more of a physics kind of thing. Once you really get into it, there's a lot of like, what is thought made of, and I don't know how good that would be for the English curriculum. It kind of, I wouldn't say it like reminded me of Sophie's World, but it was kind of along the lines of Sophie's World, where it was more of a philosophical book rather than like a symbolism kind of book. So I think it was good, but I don't know if I would add it to the curriculum personally.